Hey guys, the new Vicious Syndicate report came out. This is the first one for this expansion, or for the mini expansion, talking about the different changes of the metas, talking about decks on top, and it kind of confirms, because sometimes with using HS replay, the stats can have a lot more biases, can have a lot more, for example, one deck might say it's a really high win rate, but that's only because people only played it on day one. Then it started getting bad and they stopped playing it. So it still shows a high win rate. It could be good players just playing it. There's a lot of biases that Vicious Syndicate, they're data experts. They look at the stats. They correct for biases. They look at it as a whole, and they can get really sometimes interesting conclusions about cards and decks that just sort of a base level of stats wouldn't necessarily get. And the big takeaway, so I'm gonna just read some of this aloud. We've got Shaman is back. The previously dead class is a complete revive thanks to Primal Dungeon and Wailing Vapor, bringing two his failing archetypes to the front and even sparking experiment with Evolved Shaman. Elemental Shaman is very popular throughout ladder and split between the Whack-A-Mole and Doomhammer build. Doom Shaman is a more popular top legend. And that's kind of, I feel the Elemental Shaman personally seems like it's a really good deck to get to legend. But at the higher level, these kind of tempo style decks, players get better and better at playing against them and predicting them. And this sort of more Doomhammer build seems to be stronger at the higher level. But yeah, Deathrattle Demon Hunter doing very well. And Control Priest doing well, and is really kind of working, pretty much going with the N'Zoth type. And then Warrior is incorporating Crush into the builds, and Druid still has, people were playing the new version, which ended up being very bad, and then Gibberling, the Gibberling Druid still. But everything else has kind of stayed the same. And if we look at the power rankings from Diamond to 1 to Diamond to 4, so if you're trying to get to Legend, you can see Face Hunter is massively at the top. My dad got easy Legend with Face Hunter very quickly. It's just really on top right now. If he can do it, you could do it. And part of the reason at the beginning of an expansion, I don't expect Face Hunter to stay this on top. But one, it has a simple, you can see these decks are all the kind of decks I recommend for people getting to Legend. Face Hunter, Rush Warrior, Elemental Shaman, Token, and Token Druid. Though Token Druid's a little bit different, but Face Hunter, Rush Warrior, and Elemental Shaman are all tempo decks that play minions, that get on board, and then push damage and go for the win. They don't have as little fancy mechanics, but they're very spend your mana, play minions, get ahead, go for the kill. And that's the best kind of archetype for players to get first-time Legend with. And you can see on Diamond to 1, where if we look at more my rank in the top 1,000 Legend, Face Hunter is still on top, which surprised me. Usually Face Hunter, but it's still, I expect next week it not to be as much, not because the deck got worse, but Face Hunter kind of punishes a lot less worse decks, and Vicious Syndicate totally agrees with they said the same thing that I already thought. But yeah, Doomhammer Shaman, though, the second to best deck, and I'm knowing many people who've gotten #1 Legend. Sales Luna got #1 Legend. Robot Wizard got #1 Legend with Doomhammer Shaman. It's absolutely on top right now. It's very, very strong. You can see Deathrattle Demon Hunter, Elemental Shaman, but a lot of these sort of powerful tempo decks are actually doing better even than Control Priest. Though Control Priest players, this is the top, the highest played deck right now at top 1,000. Ran into a lot of them yesterday, but it's just interesting that these are the top performing decks. And I know Priest does have a very high skill cap, so players can get higher, but players can also get very good at getting everything really solid with these decks and get #1 Legend with decks like Doom Shaman. So if we go back and we'll take a look at some of their stuff. They talk about Elemental and Doom Shaman are both top tier decks, but they have I think different strengths and weaknesses. And another thing they say right now is Face Hunter, like I said, part of the reason Doom Shaman isn't as top as Elemental Shaman on the climb to Legend, I think, is because Face Hunter is one of the most popular deck from Diamond 4 to Diamond 1. But when you're at high legend, like top 200, top 100, Face Hunter is I barely see any. So it's a thing of the deck. So Doom Shaman is likely actually to get better. And Elemental Shaman might be upgraded, might be figured out, but it's likely to stay the same. So Doom Shaman has the potential to get better, place in the meta. If it gets too good, though, what's interesting is this will kind of happen with Evolved Shaman a whiles back. You could see the resurgence of an Ooze meta because Doom Shaman is very hard countered by Ooze. So, and Deathrattle Demon Hunter, very strong right now. I think, though, part of the reason Token Druid is performing really well is it's very bad still. Even it got a lot better, but it's still quite bad against Token Druid. Or Gibberling Druid, even though it's still it's with the 3/2 rush, deal 1 to all, it has a lot more of a fighting chance. It's still not very good against that archetype. Control Priest, Rush Warrior, very strong, and it's interesting right now. This is the thing a lot of GMs are thinking of, like, do you put Crush in? Do you put N'Zoth in? And we'll go get to this, and then the other classes are kind of not very interesting right now. Rogue is just stayed the same, but still good. Hunter is doing well, but hasn't changed. Mage is not doing great, but is kind of, and then Warlock and Paladin. Kind of sad to see Paladin die, and this is kind of why it can be sad when everybody just says, "Oh, keeps complaining." And now we have the class that literally was the best class of the expansion, and this happens all the time, now is completely dead. So I'm sad to see that, and that's the reality of over nerfing sometimes. But I think, everybody was saying, oh, this is bullcrap, Paladin's still on top, and now it is no longer on top. So yeah, and that's part of the reason I think Doom Shaman also can be performing so well, is Paladin was one of the, also, not only did Shaman get stronger, but Shaman got a lot stronger with 2 incredibly strong cards, but Shaman was incredibly bad against Paladin because of the big Divine Shield taunts, and now they don't have to worry about that. So yeah. So let's just take a look at some of the lists. We're going to take a look at especially the list for getting to Legend, because and I've got the link below for the whole report. Vicious Syndicate puts it out free, so you can get all their deck lists on there, but I'm just going to take a look at some the ones I think will be interesting. So this is what they're running. They're running the N'Zoth package, and I'm surprised that they're running Alar. They're also running Mankrik. I know Vicious Syndicate loves Mankrik, and I had already seen, like, Ace Hunter Kreen. I agree with them. In my own practicing, is fantastic, and every list should run it. But I'm surprised they're not running the Sigil of Summoning. But I guess, so the deck does not have many 2-drops with this, but I guess they're thinking with the N'Zoth, it's not worth it. Let me see what they say about it. Drop 2 Increscents. They don't really talk about the 2-drop, and they don't really trucks. Let's see. And they tend to like I-Beam. I think I was hearing about that as well. It's really nice against Face Hunter. So especially on the climb to Legend. I'm not sure about High Legend. A lot of players don't use this at High Legend, but having these I-Beams to kill, a 2/3 often can be absolutely huge in a early game Tempo War against a Face Hunter. So that's their build for that, and I think that looks overall solid, especially on the climb to Legend. I think I'm not sure about. I kind of like the Sigil Summon. I wish they had. I don't think they commented on this. No, they did not. So curious, I guess, but seems reasonable overall. So Elemental Shaman, this is the Whack-A-Mole build. This is what they've got here. They're not running a Kill the Windlord, but they're running double Fire Elemental, and they're running Alexstrasza. And I was looking at stats just on HS Replay, and Alexstrasza is apparently a strong performing card. And it's interesting that, because it seems like, oh, Elakir would make more sense, but just Alexstrasza is just such a strong card. It can go through taunts. It can burn through secrets. You know, if a mage plays a secret for an Ice Bear and they're at 8 health, well, it's not going to matter with Alexstrasza. So, and I don't think many people are actually running this exact build. I'm not sure. So I'll be curious, but it looks really just strong and solid overall. Just lots of strong elemental tempo plays and very strong Wailing Vapor. And with the Cage Max Custodian and the Primal Dungeoneer, a good amount of powerful tutoring card draw. And Control Priest. So they talked about, they have, so this is kind of the old style where it runs Hysteria, but they talked about also Hysteria as, you might say, oh, every deck list runs Hysteria and Condemn, but there's actually a new list, and I was playing this list on stream last night, and it runs Against All Odds and Wave of Apathy and Cabal Acolyte, and it's real weird, and you also generate, but it's, I think they talk about it and they say, so the alternative to this, like, and cutting both of these looks crazy, but I don't exactly understand the logic, but it looks like because, you know, if you fall behind really on board, instead of removing individual thing, you can do a powerful swing turn with Against the Odds and Wave or an Xrella. So it's kind of just doing these minion plays and then doing like these occasional swing turns. It's a different approach to the deck, and it kind of is surprising, but it actually had the highest win rate. I was just looking on HS Replay casually. This list was out, and it was completely outclassing, and it doesn't even run a Lucia, which is interesting as well. Really interesting list overall. And I think Vicious Syndicate tends to not like Lucia. It tends to be a low-performing card. It's a very skill-testing card, so it's a thing of often the stats, I think, will actually say it's not even very good. But I think in certain matchups, and if you're, I always feel like cutting a Lucia feels to be giving up, because it's just it's one of those cards where if you're like really paying attention and you're focusing, you can make amazing Lucia plays, but it's also easy. Every player who plays Lucia has had turns where they just completely botch them. So it's a very skill testing card. So it's always partially sad to cut her, because it just feels like that's one of the, I think, even though she gets a lot of shit, I think she's one of the most interesting cards in the game. Warrior, they talked about the Sorrowfang experiments of running Crush and this, but running both is too greedy. And I agree. And so they have a list that's very similar to my list for this is, I think, one card off of my list for GM. But the one thing I brought, or maybe I ran 110 Thresher and I wanted to run Crab Rider, and I didn't. I ran one Warmaul Challenger and I ran the 6/3 Rush. I can't remember its name, but it's Rush Mech Deathrattle draw a card, draw a minion, give it +3/+3. So very just solid overall, strong Rush Warrior list. Just very solid. This is a fantastic deck, and this is I believe, except for the N'Zoth, one card off of the pre-made deck that they gave. So you could easily, if you already have N'Zoth, or you've just crafted N'Zoth, if you didn't have this deck, you could craft it as one of the pre-mades and then just add N'Zoth, so and Kresh. So I guess you have to have two cards. So this is the thing about the pre-mades, is often new cards come out, but I think that's a really nice option if you're a budget player. So, and then Token Druid, just nothing changed. That's this, and then all the other lists are pretty pretty just old lists that are working well now. So anyways, really interesting stuff. Like I said, these are kind of the top decks at top 1,000, but you can see here, if you're trying to get to Legend for the first time, tempo-based decks, Face Hunter, playing minions, getting on board, going for the kill, Face Hunter, Rush Warrior, Elemental Shaman, Token Druid, Deathrattle Demon Hunter after that. All really, really great options for you. I highly recommend them. So anyways, hope that was enjoyable. If you want to read more and read more detail, I'm just kind of going over what they're saying and kind of what's applicable for players trying to get legend, stuff like that, and kind of new updates to deck lists. But if you want to read the whole report, they give out a report every Thursday. It's fantastic. It's the gold standard for data-based analysis of Hearthstone. Everybody has kind of their opinions on the deck list, but it's always kind of a thing of like, will the data show that, if you make a deck list, is it actually good? It's performing statistically? Are a wide variety of players doing well with it? Or are you just a outlier in the pan that made that deck good, but everyone else is failing with it? So really the gold standard for database analysis in Hearthstone. So check it out if you want to learn more about the meta and stuff like that. But anyways, that's what I got. I got the link to the Vicious Syndicate report, and I got a link to 3 decks from their report in the comments below as well. So hope you enjoy, and happy climbing.